Three AI helpers, the same three jobs. Watch the left side finish while the right side is still waiting. Same code, same instructions. The only difference is one tiny detail in how the request was written. By the end of this video, you'll spot that detail instantly, and you'll know why it makes your AI 3 times faster. We're starting from zero. Quick promise before we start. If you've never built an AI agent, that's fine. I'll explain every single word, no jargon without a definition. This is lesson 1.3 of the Claude Certified Architect series. Domain 1. That's 27% of the exam. Now today's official topic sounds scary. Invoke subagents, pass context, spawn in parallel. Forget that title for a second. Here's what it actually means. How do you get one AI to hire other AIs and get them all working at the same time? That's it. That's the whole lesson. First, the foundation. Skip this and nothing else makes sense. Picture a brilliant person locked in a room. No phone, no internet, just a slot in the door. That person is Claude. Really smart. Completely cut off. Now say you want them to look something up. They can't, so instead, they write a note. Please search the web for this. They slide it through the slot. You read the note, you do the search, you slide the answer back. That's how every AI agent works. That note has a name. It's called a tool call. And the list of notes they're allowed to write is called their tools. Here's the key part. Claude never does anything itself. It only ever asks. Your code does the actual work, every single time. Now the second idea, subagents. Say the job is too big for one person. So you hire help. In our picture, that means a second room, a second person, brand new. And here's what trips everyone up. That second person has never met you. They don't know what you're working on. They didn't see any of your earlier notes. They know only what's written on the sheet you hand them. That's a subagent, a fresh Claude in its own room with its own memory. In the docs, that memory is called a context window. Just think of it as how much it can hold in its head at once. Fresh room, fresh head, knows nothing. And the first person, the one handing out the work, that one has a name too, the coordinator. It doesn't do the work, it decides who does. So how does the coordinator actually hire someone? Here's where beginners expect a special feature, some setting called Enable Subagents. It doesn't exist. Creating a subagent is just another note through the slot. It's a tool call, and the tool is named task. That's the whole mechanism. Let's read one together slowly. Type tool_use. That just means this is a request, not an answer. Name task. That's which tool it wants. Then input with 3 things inside. Description. A short label. Prompt. Everything the new worker needs to know. And subagent type, which kind of helper to create. Look at that prompt field again. That's the sheet of paper. That's the only thing the new person will ever see. One naming note that confuses everyone. In Claude Code, this tool got renamed. It's called Agent now. The exam still calls it Task. Same thing, 2 names. Now, the first of 3 things you control, and it's the one people get backwards. Every Claude has a list of tools it's allowed to use. It's called allowed tools. If task isn't on that list, the coordinator physically cannot hire anyone. It'll make a beautiful plan. Then just sit there, like a manager with a phone that has no buttons. Great job title. Can't call anyone. But here's the backwards part. When people set up a coordinator, they give it everything. Web search, file reading, all of it. More tools, more powerful, right? Wrong. Every tool you give the coordinator is a job it'll do itself. Give it web search, and it searches. It won't hand out work, it can just do. And now you've built one expensive assistant instead of a team. Anthropic says this about their own lead agent. It coordinates rather than conducting research itself. So the rule is simple. The coordinator's tool list is its job description. Second thing you control. But first, one more word you need. Message. Think about texting a friend. You can send one text with 3 questions in it, or 3 separate texts, 1 question each. Same questions, different shape. A conversation with Claude works exactly the same way. Claude replies, and that whole reply is one message. You'll also hear it called a turn. And here's the thing beginners never realize. One message can hold more than 1 note. More than 1 tool call. 3 requests, all inside a single reply. That is the entire secret of this lesson. Hold that thought. Okay, now watch. If the coordinator wants 3 helpers at once, it writes 3 task notes, all inside 1 message, 1 reply, 3 notes. All 3 start together. That's called parallel. Now the slow version, same 3 notes, but 1 per message. Write a note, wait for the answer, write the next one. That's called sequential. 3 times the waiting. Look at both on screen. The words inside are identical. The only difference is where the message ends. That's the detail from the very beginning of this video. It's a bracket. Anthropic's docs say it plainly. A response can contain several tool use blocks in a single assistant turn. That's the same sentence I just explained to you. One warning, because this catches people. Claude writing 3 notes doesn't automatically make them run at once. Claude is only asking. Your code still has to actually run all 3 together. So what makes Claude write 3 notes instead of 1? This part genuinely surprised me. It's a paragraph of English. Anthropic publishes the exact words. You paste them into your system prompt. That's the standing instructions Claude reads before every single conversation. And the paragraph says roughly this. If you're doing several independent things, do them all at once, not one after another. That's the setting. That's it. Their own docs say this pushes it to nearly 100%. Read that again if you're new here. The speed of your AI system is controlled by a sentence, not a config file. A sentence. And it works in normal requests too. Don't say research music and also check film. Say research music and film at the same time. Same words, completely different result. So should you always run everything at once? No. And one question decides it. Does the second job need the first job's answer? If no, run them together. If yes, run them in order. That's the whole test. Let's do 4 quick examples. 4 helpers researching 4 different topics. Nothing depends on anything. Together, one helper downloads the data, the next one analyzes it, the second needs the first one's output, in order. 3 helpers reading 3 different files, together. One helper maps out your code, the next writes tests from that map, in order. Now, what happens if you get this wrong and force them together? This is the part that should worry you. It doesn't crash. The second helper still needs that missing information, so it makes something up. Anthropic's own instructions warn about exactly this. Never guess missing parameters. You can't proofread a page that hasn't been written yet. Third and last thing you control. And honestly, this is the one nobody teaches. Everyone talks about sending work out. Almost nobody talks about what comes back. So your 3 helpers finish. Each one hands you a page, some findings, a web link, a date, a confidence score. You staple all of it together and ask Claude to write one report. And you get something strange. Web links quoted as if they were facts. Worker ID numbers printed inside sentences. Findings labeled with the wrong topic. Claude isn't confused about the subject. It's confused about which part is the evidence and which part is just the paperwork. So, 3 moves to fix it. 1. Put a labeled folder around each helper's findings. The docs recommend XML tags. Those are just name labels with angle brackets, an opening tag and a closing tag. 2. Put all the paperwork in a separate folder. Then write in plain English, do not print this. 3. And this one is free. Put your instructions after the data, not before. Anthropic's docs say questions at the end improve answers by up to 30%. 30% for moving a paragraph to the bottom. Quick one, but it matters. What if a helper fails? Times out, comes back empty. Your instinct is to just drop it and send back the 2 that worked. Don't. Every note you sent needs an answer coming back, even the failed one. For that one, you send back a result that says, this failed, and here's why. There's a flag for it called isError. You set it to true. Why does that matter? The coordinator can't fix a hole it can't see. Nothing coming back looks like nothing happened. An error coming back looks like something to fix. Give it the bad news. Bad news is still information. Now the honest part, and this matters for the exam and for real work. The mistake isn't hiring too few helpers, it's hiring too many. Anthropic says this directly about their newest models. Claude Opus 5 reaches for subagents more readily than older models. And about the version before it, it might spawn subagents to explore code, even when a simple search would be faster. Think about that for a second. 4 helpers hired. 1 command would have done it. Every helper costs money and time. So Anthropic actually publishes instructions to make Claude do this less. Only hire for big jobs that are genuinely separate. Don't hire for work you could finish yourself in a few steps. If one helper can do it, use one. The skill here isn't hiring, it's knowing when not to. Let's lock it in. Here's what you need for the exam. How does a coordinator create a subagent? The task tool, and it must be in allowed tools. How do you run subagents at the same time? Several task calls in one single response. How do you run them one after another? One task call per response. What does a subagent inherit from the coordinator? Nothing. Everything it needs goes in the prompt. When do you use parallel? When the jobs don't depend on each other. And when do you use sequential? When one job needs another job's output. Read those 6 once more. That is task statement 1.3, completely. So, 3 things you control. Who's allowed to hire, which is the tool list. How many work at once, which is the shape of one message, and whether the results come back usable, which is how you label them. If this made sense, that was the whole point. I'm mapping this entire certification, lesson by lesson, at this pace. Subscribe, and lesson 1.4 is next. How do you stop an agent from skipping a step? Turns out you don't ask it nicely, you block it.